Like I'd go out tramping and I'd have this massive heavy pack on, and day one I wear my boots, day two I just put my sneakers back on, and I couldn't help myself but do a bit of a jog, and I was just like, there must be more to this, and that's when I fell upon Fastpacking on social media.
Welcome to the She Adventures New Zealand podcast, a space to find inspiration from the outdoors and life through candid conversations with women doing rad stuff outdoors across New Zealand. Here, we talk with everyday women adventuring. We unpack their stories on why they adventure, their triumphs, challenges, and discoveries about themselves. There's banter, tips and ideas, deep diving and insights as we talk about their stories of adventures around New Zealand. My hope is this podcast, the stories and the conversations, spark something within you and inspire you to get outdoors and to fill your happy tank with the things that matter, because life is better when you do. Hi, I'm Senka Radonich, creator and host of the She Adventures New Zealand podcast, and today's guest is Alice Brice of Alice in the Hills. This mum of two describes herself as a fast packer, a trail runner, a mountain biker, adventure racer, and Godzone wannabe. She's ambassador for Scenic Sports events, who run Oxford Odyssey and race Tekapo. And when she's not on the trails, you can find her sharing advice and knowledge in her Facebook communities, the South Canterbury Adventure Ladies, which has nearly 1,000 women, and Fastpacking New Zealand, which is close to 3,500 people. So in this conversation, we talk about how and why she got into fastpacking. We look at some of the epic places that she's been to that you want to put on your hiking, biking, fastpacking, or trail running list. And one of them is the highest point on the entire Te Araroa road. Her fastpacking failure and what she learnt from the solo camp. Plus she shares some epic downloadable checklists to help you pack and to pack lighter. And of course, there's so much more. So get ready for this candid and inspiring conversation. Hit subscribe and enjoy. And of course, here's to getting more women outdoors. Welcome to the podcast, Alice. I'm so excited to have you. Oh, you're totally welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you about all things fastpacking, the places you've gone to, the lessons you've learnt. And I know that you're going to share some really great tips and tricks and some lessons that you've learned about being out and out in the wilderness doing some fast packing. So thanks so much again for joining us.
Thank you, Senka. A bit out of the old comfort zone, but no, got to do these things.
Yes, I love it. So for anyone who doesn't know what fast packing is, do you want to maybe explain a little bit about what it is and how that might differ from hiking or trail running?
Yeah, so fast packing is like a bit of a combo. So ultralight tramping with trail running. So for example, like I'd go out tramping and I'd have this massive heavy pack on, and day one I wear my boots, day two I just put my sneakers back on, and I couldn't help myself but do a bit of a jog, and I was just like, there must be more to this, and that's when I fell upon fastpacking on social media. And yeah, it's that combination with a light pack, which lots of trampers are doing these days anyway. Mm-hmm. But you're walking. We don't run the whole way. It's a combo of the old run, fast walk kind of scenario. So yeah, best of both worlds.
Yeah, nice. So how did you get into fast packing? So, from everything I know about you, you've done quite a few cool trail running adventures. I've seen some of your hiking stuff. So how did you progress from one to the other, or what made you kind of do the shift or a shift?
Well, I guess, because of that whole urge to run and just not being fully fulfilled from hiking, mm-hmm. that and I was like, actually, this sounds like me. And so I booked in, I don't even know how I met this woman, a fastpacking trip with someone. And I decided, I met her on Facebook. That was Instagram. So I made this Facebook community on Fastpacking New Zealand because I wanted to ask all the questions. Mm-hmm. So it was partly selfish to create that Facebook group. And so that's where I asked my questions and what bag do I get and how do I do this and, all the juicy questions, which led me to do a spreadsheet. Yeah. And so instead of like every second person going, what pack am I supposed to get now? The same questions being asked. As a community, it wasn't just me. We made this spreadsheet with all the gear. And so I've just got it locked off so anyone can in the group can check it and have a look. And so I used that for inspiration. And then, just found someone to go with, because you've got to have the right gear. And so I've done quite a few fast packs with complete randoms. One time it was a bloke. And I said to my husband, well, does he look all right on Facebook? Doesn't look like a serial killer, does he? And my husband gave him the all clear. I don't even think he really cared, to be fair, but gave him the all clear. And going with strangers isn't unusual. I can't even remember what the question was, but I'll just keep talking. And and then I went out.
Alice is very excited about fast packing. And this is why we get cool people like her on, because we're going to have a great conversation and she's going to fill you with lots of inspiration. So so the question was, what got you into fast packing?
So the urge in social media, I think.
Just seeing people out there doing it, like once you'd sort of heard about what fast packing was and what it is.
Combination of I never really used to like the whole overnight adventure. I was always about the day trip. But I think having kids, I think I just had one child up, but you get away a bit longer.
And
I really like being immersed in it for longer now. And so you do a day trip, it's epic, and then you're back at the car and you're driving home again. You're like, But I really enjoy the whole overnight factor. Meeting new roomies at the hut, or
That's cool. I heard about fast packing a while back, and I've noticed, the gear's been getting lighter and lighter as the years go by. And from everything I see about the fast packing world, is it opens up a window for being able to cover more ground, and do those trails that some people are doing over, I guess, 4 or 5 days, but maybe trimming those down to slightly shorter days.
Yeah, 100%. And a perfect example of this is I've done the Heafy, which did take me 4 nights to go and do.
Wow.
It was a long way to drive, but I only had 1 night on the trail. But the better example, I'll use Kepler as a better example. So most people...
Oh, no, I want to hear about both of them, so...
Most people, when I was down at Kepler, were doing it over 3 nights, so 4 days, and I was literally away for 3 nights. And so it was a 6-hour drive from Timaru, and I stayed in Dunedin, picked up my random male friend. My mother-in-law checked him over. She was so nervous about it.
Yeah.
So fine. And then went and did Kepler, stayed 1 night on the trail, back to my mother-in-law's in Dunedin, and then I was home. I left it after lunch on the Friday and got home before lunch on the Monday or something. So everyone else was still on the trail hiking it. And I was back home with the kids. So that's what's so good about it, is that time management. And we still stop for photos, and we still hike things, and we still enjoy it's around us, but as trail runners we also enjoy to run. So
just for anyone who doesn't know the Kepler, how long roughly is the Kepler track?
60 kilometers.
Cool.
And a whole lot more flat and bush than you realize.
Really? And what way? Like up? Or...
Well, everyone's quite different, and too much bush I kind of get a little bit bored. Same.
Yeah.
And I really like alpine up in the hills, and that's what you see is Kepler. You see all those beautiful alpine photos. It's only 14 Ks of the 60. That was a huge. I had no idea.
But I guess that's the great thing about being able to go and have a look at do those trails. So
I don't regret it. It was freaking epic. Like Heafy, that was one of the first bigger ones I did. And as I said, it was 4 nights away. So I had a night in North Canterbury, a night at the start of the trail in a tent, a night on the trail, and a night in North Canterbury, because it's so far away. It was over 1,000 kilometers driving or something. And we did a key swap. So these 2 people I met on the Facebook community, and one guy did the key swap and one girl came with me.
Cool. And how long's the Heafy track? Oh, the Heafy track. I just tweaked. I was like, I've just done the Heafy track, or part of the Heafy track.
Is it? I want to say 80. It's nearly 80, isn't it? Because we did 40 each day, roughly nearly 40 each day. Yeah. And it was a bit far for me, but you can just walk a bit more. At that time of my training, it was a bit far, but
so when you're doing these big trips, what are you how are you planning them, and what is sort of some of the gear that you take? Is it always just 1 night overnight So many questions.
Yeah, so everybody's different. Me personally, I quite like getting a bookable hut because then I can leave my tent and my bed mat at home,
Yeah.
which is, you know, a whole lot of weight in itself and bulk in your bag.
Yeah, sure.
But I have totally done, if it's non-bookable, I 100% always take my tent.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then I've tended to just do the one night away myself. Some people do more than one night, but then it's more food and more weight and things. Kepler, I think I was 6 kilos with fluids. So there was places to put water in along the way. Whereas when I did a recce of the Oxford Odyssey, so the mountain marathon, and at the start of that, because it was shoulder season, so it was getting a bit cooler, and I wasn't 100% sure if there was going to be firewood at the hut and things like that, my start weight was 9 kilos, but I had 2 litres of water and a flask of, which is 500 mils of water as well. So that's including all my, like, I literally weigh it at the parking lot because I'm a little bit obsessed. So yeah, like, that's, some people just do their base weight and they don't count the food and the water. And I'm like, okay. At the start of my run, I was 9 kilos, but I had a puff jacket, I had a tent, I had a bedroll, I had plenty of food, and I had a ton of water because there was only one river I crossed in that whole day. Yeah.
So there's a bit of planning that goes into doing a fast pack, I guess, of any sort of distance, whether you're staying the one night or several nights. I guess you've got to plan a little bit more than you would compared to your hiking. So talk me through. So
knowing what's at the hut in the way of like firewood to keep warm, because when you get there you want to be able to stay warm. Knowing where the water is, which happens in tramping anyway, but you're a little bit more aware of it because you've got to run with all that water on. So you don't want to carry more than you need to. What else was I thinking? Oh, yeah. Obviously the tent. Like, I've got I'm a bit of an ex-school teacher here. So I've got a list, and I literally print off that list every time I like go tramping with kids. Every time I go fast packing, I print off this list and I cross off what I don't need on that trip, and then I highlight it when I pack it. So I've kind of got it down to a fine art, and I'm happy to share that list. I have done other times. And that list works for me. So the individual just creates, you know, the list is for them. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I pack fast packing really easily. It's the thing with tramping that does my head in. That takes a few days. Even when I've got a list, but you're doing 4 people. But for myself, I literally just pack the night before and just make sure I've got the nutrition sorted. Yeah.
And I guess, like anything, the more often you're going, the more you've been able to really refine that list down. So once you've done all your research on the area and what some of the necessities are for where you're going, then that packing list is much easier to compile. So
and I'll only tend to do it sort of October through to late April is my season for me personally. I always saying this is me personally because everyone does it differently. And I know in the North Island it's warmer, so they're doing it for a longer season. And some nutters don't mind going to an ice cold bloody hut with their that's not me. So I'm looking at the weather. That's a really important thing because we are lightweight. I won't go if the weather window's not good.
Yeah. So have you got any really good weather sites that you tend to use?
I just look at everything until I find the weather I want. And I tell you what, that weather changes a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like just on the weekend, it was supposed to be really wet. Haven't seen the rain yet.
If there's any great weather tools or apps or anything like that, I would love to be able to share them with the team. I tend to just
Google and look at lots of different ones, and then sort of make an assumption over a lot of them. Yeah,
what are you looking for when you're cross-checking all your weather?
The rain particularly, and then if it's rain and southerly, then that's going to be colder again.
Yeah, and
so, and our raincoats aren't as thick as a tramper's, you know, like they aren't. I'm going to be quite frank here. They're not as durable and as, you know, they're a bit more lightweight. And so they aren't going to take the torrential rain that a full-on hiking jacket's going to take. So we've got to be, we can't be stupid about it, but we do move faster. So we would get to the destination quicker. Yeah.
And that's the compromise, I think, when you are starting to move into that lightweight gear is that you know, when you're tramping and hiking and bush bashing, you're requiring you gear to do different things and last in different ways compared to if you're going ultra light and you're wanting to be more mindful of the weight, but you still want to make sure that you're being safe while you're out there.
Like we're not on the tops for as long as what trampers are and things like that, But no, I'm very vigilant of the weather,
Yeah. So Heafy and Kepler, there are a couple that you've done. Talk to me about some of the other ones that you do. Can you remember the very first fast pack that you ever did?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that was, pretty sure, how can I not remember? I'm pretty sure that was Cameron Hutt. The infamous purple or pink door. And I tell you what, if you ever go there, it's in the Heckatree near inland of Ashburton. If you ever go there, look out for the paint pot because it tells you what the colour is on it.
Do tell.
You have to go and find out yourself. But in some light it looks pink and in some light it looks purple. Yeah. It's quite a big debate, but I found the pot. I know what colour it really is.
So if you know the colour of the pot, make sure you comment with this podcast.
It's a good venture.
And just to see what the debate. So talk me through your first your first ever fast pack then and how that is different to how you fast pack now.
So I went with a random, as I do. Sometimes I'm on my own, but it's quite nice to have company, especially on your first one.
Yeah.
And we just met off Facebook, and I just remember she had a heavier bag than I did. And I remember getting to the hut and we were comparing everything. Like she had this tiny little cooker, and I just had the cooker I normally take with the family, and the pot. It's quite big because that's another thing is like when I started out is some of my stuff was quite heavy and bulky. Yeah. And I purchased the pack, I purchased the sleeping bag, like those key things. Mm-hmm. And then the other things like my pot and a few other things were really bulky and big. And then over time, because it's so bloody expensive.
It is,
to buy lightweight. Over time, I bought lighter stuff. So every time we go, we're like, oh, what have you got? And oh, let's have a look and let's compare. And it went really well. And got to the hut and there was no one there, which was always nice too. Yeah.
How long's the Cameron Hut? So you trail ran it?
Yeah, ran walk. I don't even know. Is it 30 Ks return maybe? Yeah. See, that's the interesting thing. Like you talk to some fast packers, even trail runners, and they're nutty and they do like massive trips. Well, one of my trips that I did was only 15 Ks in total, and just the other day I ran it in one morning, But it's the whole being out there and doing it. So like I got to the car park at 4:30 in the afternoon at Sharpland Falls, Mount Somers. Yeah. And then I ran into Pinnacle's hut in the rain, and I stayed the night there. And had yarns to randoms and, doing my thing. And then it was actually cloudy. I couldn't see anything. I had to use my watch to navigate. And I went along the track and up and over the top of Mount Somers and out. And so I was home by, 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning the next day. Yeah. But I'd had my fix and I'd got away and I'd come back feeling fresh and rosy and ready to take on parenting, So it doesn't always have to be a massive trip.
I think what I'm really loving hearing in your stories is that you've done so many different types of trails and there really is no one recipe for fast packing. So if anyone's like listening to this and they're like, oh, I've heard about fast packing or I'm really interested in getting into it, it just sounds like there's so many different ways you can cut the cake for how you want to utilize fast packing. So,
absolutely.
That it's like you can go to mahi for the day, get away at the end of it, get yourself into a hut that's a bit closer and then find a longer way to exit out if you want to or something like that. So
I wish I'd relive my youth because I found this guy on the internet, Adventures of the South, and he does a 5 till 9 trip. And he was at university at the time. So he left Christchurch, at 5 o'clock at night. Yeah. He went into the hut and then he was back at uni at 9 o'clock the next morning.
I love it.
Yeah, so there's like so many different ways of doing these sorts of things. And that would be ideal for fast packing because you'd get there, you'd zoom into the hut, you'd stay the night and you'd zoom out again and be back to work.
And how special is that to be able to access things like staying in the huts and really like recharging in a different way? So
Yeah.
That's cool. So talk to me. Yeah, so we sort of touched a little bit there on gear, and we were starting to talk about, what it was like when you first started, the things you used to take and the things that you do now. What are some of the key things that you have invested in along the way? So a couple of things where you started out and you're like, I don't need to spend any money on that. What I have is perfectly adequate. And now you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot do without these items.
Oh. Jeepers, that's a good one. I don't even really know. I'm going to put a little twist on it instead.
Mm-hmm.
And the cooker thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got like this tiny cooker in my tiny pot.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm saving weight. This is like so little and so tiny. And everyone at the hut goes, wow,
Yeah.
But then it uses a lot of gas because it takes quite a while to cook.
Right.
And then if I was tenting and the old wind is coming through, that makes me nervous. So it's something I'm reflecting on in the other direction. And I'm wondering if I should be getting like one of those smaller jet boils, because some people fast pack with a smaller jet boil because it's going to use less gas and it's going to be a lot quicker.
Yeah.
But it's going to be heavier. So, yeah, just going in the other direction there. I was so proud. And now I'm like, I don't know.
But I guess that's it, right? Is every time you go out, you're learning something new on what you do or don't like. And I guess that's where everything becomes totally personal. So, because there's no hard and fast rule about what fast packing exactly is or isn't. So,
it's just refine and working out what's important to you personally. Like for some people, it's like, I have to be like super lightweight. And other people are like, actually, I want a really fast dinner when I get to the hut. So it's just working out what floats your boat in different trips. Like you might take different things or
all those different priorities, I guess. And that's where having that list that you have probably helps out, because you'd be running through what your priorities are for that trip.
Yeah.
Cool. I love it. I'm like a checklist fiend. You ask anyone when I used to run all my adventures up in Auckland, I had checklists for all the adventures so that I never missed anything. Only takes forgetting one thing once to realize you need a supercharged checklist. So I am all about those checklists. So
absolutely.
If you're listening to this, I think Alice alluded to something at the beginning. She's got a Facebook community, Fastpacking New Zealand, and in there they've got a couple of great resources on if you're considering getting into fast packing, some of the kit and the gear that you can get your hands on. So if you want to find a great community to get involved with, jump on in there, and Alice can help point you in the direction of some super cool stuff. And there's like nearly 3,500 people in there, isn't there?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So talk to me about some of the other trips that you've done. You did a solo trip to, is it Two Thumbs, is it?
Yeah, so there's an example of weather, because the Two Thumb range is part of Te Araroa, and it's Mesopotamia, so inland of like Pure Forest, Geraldine, over to Tekapo. Yep. And we had it all planned because logistics-wise, it's like a good hour from Geraldine to get to the start, and there's nothing up there apart from beauty. But, no civilization up there. And well, there's farms, but you know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Nothing else.
It's remote.
Thank you. And we had it all logistically worked out, and we had terrible weather. So it took me another whole year to get the logistics all on the line again. So you've got to be patient. Yeah. And someone took me in, kindly gave me a ride into the start, and I did it on my own. I was really nervous about the river crossings.
Sure.
So again, watching those weather, because doing it on your own and things. And it was phenomenal. It was so good. And what really got me going is that I'm from Timaru, and it's like pretty much on my back doorstep, And it's so many people in Timaru would never ever go there. And I've been
Wowzers.
there and I know what's there, and I'm just buzzing and shall be going back again.
So can you park at the start of this track and wander on
Yeah,
up,
so
or?
you can head in and park there, but it's a run through, or you could go in and out, I guess.
Yeah.
Back the same way. But yeah, it's much easier if you get dropped off and then someone else picks you up at the other end. Thank you, husband. And then it's got the highest point of Te Araroa on it, the Stag Saddle.
Yes.
So so when I got to there was 3 hikers that came while I was standing there, and it was really emotional for them, and it was just such a buzz because I was so excited about getting there finally in a whole year. And these people were really emotional because it was such a milestone for them of being the highest point. And then, fun tip, I told them, one guy followed me, you can go up to Busenberg, pronunciation hopefully correct, peak, and it's the 2,000 plus meter peak just behind it, so that's quite cool. And then you just come down the ridge line heading down towards Lake Tekapo, and it's just stunning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's
just talking
amazing.
to all those Te Araroa people, I had a plan to go to Royal Hut, and I got to Stone Hut, which was, I can't remember, it was an hour difference between them. And I was like, do I go on and have to put my tent, or do I just stay here where there's a bed? And these lovely people were just like, just stay with us. And I was like, right. And so just the yarns, and I think most of them were from overseas. It was just so cool. Just talking to them and things. Yeah, it was really neat.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I just recently had Dee from Noodles from Bricky on the podcast. She hasn't
done that section yet.
Yeah. So we were talking all things Te Araroa on that as well. So that's fantastic. I think it's making me realize just how accessible there are so many parts of the trail that people can do wherever they are in New Zealand, that it doesn't have to be, you've got to do the entirety of it in one go, that you can either do sections of it or just go and access it, because there's just, I've done a few sections, like small sections, and it never stops wowing me just how beautiful it is, and just like you say, how accessible it is. So that's really cool.
I'm logistic of one end to the other end. Spots are good, but just make sure you meet them and remember to spot the key. That's what the biggest risk is, apparently. You catch up with them at the heart, and then you leave, and then you're like, oh, we never
forgot to switch. And so do you tend to try and better question, how do you pick what types of fast packs you want to go on?
Wow.
What's your criteria?
Yeah, elevation.
Is it?
I'm a real
You love it?
Permission to walk. Like, when I choose a trail race, I look for views. Yeah. So that means I'm getting up and I'm seeing beauty. Yeah. And permission to walk. Because when people say, like, they run a road marathon, I'm like, you're nuts. That just sounds so hard. But then I tell them I've done Oxford Odyssey, and it's 41 Ks with 3,500 meters of elevation, and they're like, what? And I'm like, that's easier than running a flat 42 K. Surely, because I've got permission to walk. Yeah. And so when I'm doing my fast packing, I'm looking for those trails that are getting me up and giving me, that permission to walk and enjoy. I'm wanting to knock off more of those sections of Te Araroa. I'm wanting to knock off some more of the great walks, but I'm kind of like, people think Route Burn will probably be the one that I enjoy the most. I have Bike Pack Paparoa in Old Ghost Road.
I did want to talk. I've got a couple of those bike packing trips on my list to chit chat to you about as well. So that's probably quite a nice segue. So so you've bike packed both of those trails. So tell us a little bit about that. Was that before that you were getting into fast packing, or is it all just sort of one big adventure?
It's been in the last 2 years. Yeah, same. So my husband, I'm slowly just breaking him down. He is mountain biking, and I was like, we're going to do Old Ghost Road. So because I already had the lightweight gear, he had the massive sleek bag. Yeah. And we're going to work on that, Luke. So we did Old Ghost Road, and again, did it over how many? Oh, 3 days, 2 nights.
Yeah.
Because you pay for the same amount whether you do 1 night or 4 nights. So spending longer, being immersed on the trail. Just got to carry a bit of extra food. And that was just incredible. I don't think I could ever do the run through because the biking is so good, Senka.
It's amazing.
So I've done good, isn't it?
OGR was my first overnight biking, but I will put a full disclaimer in here before we talk about it. We went as a group of 14, and so we we did the bougie version, and we hired a helicopter to drop our gear in to the Old Ghost Road hut and then pick it up the next day for us. We did it in 2 days, so we did do 2 big days. I think it must have been, it's like 30 and 50 or something like that. I can't remember. It's about 90 odd Ks or something. So we did do it in 2 days. So it was like 36 and 55 or something. 55 is the longest I've ever rode. And I was really glad that we had all our stuff. Heli dropped in just because it was super affordable with that many of us. We virtually booked both the Old Ghost Road hut and then the little one that's up, just up from it. We booked that as well because there was just too many of us, and then we couldn't book any other huts. We would have had to have broken the group up to, I think we might have filled both those other 2 huts at a midway. So so we did the bougie version.
Nice. But you did it. You did it.
Yeah, but I will agree with you. The views are just sensational. Cool. That track is just gorgeous. Yeah.
Absolutely. I need to do a little bit more biking beforehand. Saddle sore. It was bad. Yeah.
So
funny because I was doing so much running at the time. I was training for an ultra, so the old mountain bike wasn't used quite enough. Yeah. And then we did Te Araroa this year, so it's really nice doing it with your husband and actually Old Ghost Road. We stayed in the sleep outs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because our first trip got rained off. And then the second one, we managed to shuffle it and stay in the sleep outs. And so you don't actually sleep in the main hut, but you can use all the main hut. You get a wee cabin to yourself with just a bed basically. But it's so good because you just spread your crap out everywhere. Yeah, and then you can sleep with no snorers. And then, good.
That's great. Yes, the joys of snorers and huts. We cannot escape it.
No.
And so you I want to say Fastpack, you bike packed that. So did you take all your gear with you when you rode Old Ghost Road and the Paparoa?
Yeah. Just got those the pack on the front and on the back. And then I just used all my Fastpacking stuff.
Yeah, nice.
And my husband, he didn't so much, but you can get those compression bags. So it's so handy to have the crossover. I mean, you don't have to take like cooking. I'm not taking a pot on Te Araroa, but it's all there on those trips, which makes it easy. Makes a lighter pack.
Yeah, of course. And I guess that's the aim of it. You don't want to be lugging too much gear. How do you find the bike packing versus the fast packing?
It's just quite different, I guess. Like you've got the adrenaline of the biking, like the downhill. I feel so sorry for my mountain bike because I'm getting so into trail running that it's getting me behind, and I just enjoy it so much. So I guess they are quite different, but quite similar at the same time.
Yeah.
Taking photos is much harder on a bike.
It is.
Whereas fastpacking, you're just like stop and keep going, stop and keep going. Whereas on a bike, you're like, hang on, I just need to stop and get my phone out and take a photo. It's a little bit more
admin. So what's in the wings for you for more trail? I was going to say more trail running, but more like packing adventures. What's on the cards next for you? Have you got something lined up for a few trips?
I just want to be able to knock off root burn because everyone tells me that, Alice, if you love the Alpine so much, root burn will be your jam.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah, and then
my
people
first
seem to
overnight
link
walk.
it. Nice. People seem to link it for fast packing with what's the ones down the side. Can't remember. The listeners will be like saying it, and I can't hear them.
I know what you're talking about. I think we caught up with people who were hiking it, but they did do that and then linked it onto whatever other trail is nearby. Yeah. There's another
on the style. So yeah, and yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I might have a big race happening next year, but we'll just see if that actually comes through or not.
Do you want to share, or is that uncommitted to yet? If you share it, do you feel like you're going to be committed to doing it?
Shoulder tapped, not entered, so I won't say too much yet. But getting into a bit more of the longer style stuff, so that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So no, I haven't really got a real full on list of things. Just it's amazing, like, these things come and then you're like, I have to do that, and then you're on the bandwagon. When can I book it in? I tend to like with having a family and things, is I tend to book in sort of 2 or 3 months ahead and just put the word fastpacking on that weekend.
Yeah,
with a question mark, because if something comes up and trumps it, it comes up.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, and then I start making plans closer to the time, depending on the weather or who I can talk into coming with me.
I love it. And
I was thinking we didn't talk about the time that I got cold and went home.
Yeah,
talking about the gear, and I completely forgot about it.
It's great on your. I saw it on your Instagram. But as most of the ladies that you're probably hearing me chat to, I meet most of them through Instagram, or I've met them out on the trails or something. I said to Alice, we're going to talk about this one little story that's on your thing, which is fast pack fail. I was like, the ladies all love it. So
it was actually my birthday weekend, and Mum was supposed to have the kids, but she was crook. So I was like, no, bugger it. I'm going to do something. It's my birthday. I'm going to wake up in the hills. And so I literally left like late afternoon, and I wanted to test out my tent because I'd carried it. But to this day, I still actually haven't slept in it. So I was like, no, I'm going to go and I'm just going to get in the hills and I'm going to test out my sleeping bag. So my birthday is mid-October. So we're talking mid-October. It's still a little bit fresh. I was up at 950 meters. So all I did was drove half an hour out of Timaru, jumped into a dock area, went up to as far as I fancied, and I put my tent up and I ate my dinner, and I was like, bit of an extrovert. What do you do now? I'll just go to bed. So I went to bed, and I was quite proud of myself lying in bed. And I was lying there, and we've got wallabies around here, and so I was hearing the wallabies going past, and I was just like, no, it's just a wallaby. It's just the wind. You're fine. But the issue was I couldn't warm up. So my sleeping bag is a 2-degree comfort sleeping bag. Yeah. And this is what the whole trip was about. Like when I got home, I was like, I bloody failed. But I didn't, because I did what I went for. I went to test my gear. Yes. So I rearranged things. Everyone's advice was put your hat on, put your gloves on. I was like, I had every freaking thing on that I could. And I just could not warm up. And so I lay in bed for an hour, and at 9 o'clock at night, having not warmed up, I was like, what is the point? I'm going to wake up at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm going to be frozen to the bone. And so I thought to myself, I'm going to buy that thermal liner that I talked about. And when I bought the sleeping bag, makes a world of difference, I might add. Yes. I was just in a silk liner. And so at 9 o'clock at night in the dark, I packed up the tent and then went running down. And I had in and out of reception, so I let my husband know that I was on my way. Yeah. And I ran down the hill, and I saw, I can't remember what was it. So I heard like 7 wallabies, saw 2 hares, and I saw 3 pigs, 3 or 4 pigs. And it was a mum and some piglets. And so I've got kids, they're 5 and 7, and I love, this is a great top tip for parents. And so I love when I'm out doing adventures is to take a video, but actually in the video talk to my kids. So I'll be like, look at this, kids, and I'll use their names, and I'll video, the scenery or the hut, and I'm going to take you here one day and things. So here I was with my phone in the dark, which is not very good quality, running around after these pigs, trying to get some video footage of them for my kids. Yeah. And they're like squealing, and the mother's having a panic attack. It was hilarious. And then I got home at 11:10 and went to bed.
So many lessons from that, right?
Yes, so many lessons.
What were some of your top takeaways from that?
That running in the dark is fun and not scary.
Oh, nice.
On my own. Like some people were like, what on earth were you doing? Yeah. I loved it. It was awesome. Right. And to buy that bloody thermal liner. So with me, and everyone's very individual here. In fact, the males can cope a lot more with cold sleep mags, can't they? So that's another thing that I have to toss up with my list when I go fast packing. Do I just take my silk liner or do I take my thermal liner? And some people wouldn't take a liner at all, but gross, all that sweat's not very good for your sleeping bag, is it, Senka?
Negative Ghost Rider. Liners are sensational. You must really want to say but then I guess that's priorities, right? So if you want to go really light, you'll sacrifice that, wash your sleeping bag more often.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who runs cold, I'm a liner girl.
Yeah.
So because I get too cold. So
I just think about how much I spent on that bloody sleeping bag. I'm taking the liner.
Yeah. It's a lot to wash. It's much easier to wash a liner than it is to wash a sleeping bag. So
I still haven't washed my sleeping bag. Too scared, I'll probably ruin it. But I use a liner every time.
Yeah, I think liners are great personally, but the thermo ones, they're amazing. They make a huge difference.
I had to sleep in mine once because we went on a family tramp and my daughter was like, I'm going to carry all my gear. And so I put in all the gear, weighed it, and I was like, hell no, you're not. And so I managed to get to the hut and thought to myself, that sleeping bag that was in her bag is in my living room at home. So I had to sleep in my thermal liner, fully clothed with my husband's sleeping bag over top. Sleeping bag? No. Puffer jacket over my legs. And I can confirm I wasn't cold. So good backup. Yeah.
There you go. Hey, just talking on the weight, like pack weight stuff, when you go for fast packing, do you have any goals in terms of like how light you would like to keep your pack? So how far into that do you go? Do you go anywhere between this and this is great?
No. So that's an interesting question, and some people totally would. With my list, if I need to take it, I need to take it.
Yeah.
And so that's the way my bag is going to be on that trip. Yeah. So, I mean, I'll be forever looking at my gear and thinking, can I buy a new or can I buy lighter? And technology is changing. Everything's getting lighter and so, I just find that if I need it, I need it. So I'm taking it. Yeah. Yeah. My weight is what it is.
Yeah. But you must have that down to a sort of a good range these days now. So most of your pack, even with all the basics that you need, must be between a certain weight.
Yeah, I can't believe how much it does vary. Like as I say, that Kepler trip, it was 6 kilos, but that was a bit of water and food inclusive because I count that as a starting weight. But that was no cooker, no tent, no mat.
Yes.
I think I took a pot, but we didn't have to. Whereas, that one where I did the recce at Oxford, well, that was 9 kilos. Because I had everything plus a whole lot of water.
Right. So some of the biggest variables will be whether you're staying in a hut or staying in a tent.
Yeah.
Or taking a tent, I guess, because do you often plan your trip so that you have a hut to stay at and then the tent is your backup?
So I do like bookable huts because I don't need to carry the bloody thing.
Yeah.
But if it's a non-bookable hut, I will 100% every time take a tent.
Yeah.
And no, it's gone.
And then the season, so the temperatures.
Yes. So if I know it's autumny or springy, then I'll take my puff jacket as well, which is just a lighter one. But
Do you think you'd be able to share with us just now a bit of a list of the things that you would take on your average trip? If you were to run through your special list.
Off the top of my head, I can
you
find
bring
it on the computer.
Can you bring that out of you?
Jeepers. It's just all
I know the ladies would be, I'm super interested to know what you take, like what you would take and what you forgo, and so because in my mind I'm already like, if I'm staying at a bookable hut, I totally get that. It's different. That's you got your pack, you've got, well, it depends if there's a cooker. If there's cookers there, you don't even need to take those, do you? So
no. I'm Googling it because you're putting me on the spot here. I'm not Googling it, I'm looking it up. Pack bladder, tent, head torch, but that's kind of semi-seasonal too, because if it's a late daylight, you can use your phone to go to the toilet, but it is handy to have if shit hits the fan, isn't it? I always take poles. There's one. Yeah. Poles. So poles are phenomenal. People think that they're for old people, but they are so not. And for fast packing, it's keeping it nice and upright too.
I am totally with
heavier
you.
and heavier. And I use them for trail running, everything.
I only discovered poles. I just want to talk into this topic because
Yes.
I only discovered poles recently, like in the last, I think 6 months, I started using poles. I think I did my knee or my back or something, and I just wanted to get out, but I just didn't feel super stable. So one of the girls at work, she suggested some poles. I have never gone back, and I had the same reservation. I thought, oh my God, people are going to look at me like I'm this old person and I'm taking my poles, but I can't believe what a difference it makes for getting up the trails, and just even boosting along on some of those flatter sections, and just I think just how much it saves my knees, because you're redistributing the weight. Game changer, poles.
Absolutely. I did I call it the cancelled crater rim. My only ultra I've ever done, which wasn't official because it was cancelled, thanks COVID.
Yeah.
So I got people to do sections with me.
Nice.
And this chick was doing up Mount Herbert with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't as fit as I was because I'd been training for a 53K race. So I had my poles and I was like, oh, you use my poles. And every time we'd swap. So they'd go between her and I. And every time I handed them to her, I was just like, and I was only at the start of my run. And I felt such a difference when I handed them over and got them back. You just felt so much stronger. Just some of that weight going through your arms. Just totally, as you say, 100% recommend for trail running, hiking, fastpacking.
Yeah. I'm not a trail runner. I might jog some flat sections. I might go for a jog on the flat sections. So I wouldn't call myself a trail runner, but I like to descend at a little bit of pace. That's my favorite thing to do. Super slow on the ups, but I think my mountain bike background makes me really enjoy the techie descents. And having poles just really makes a huge difference. So love it. Love them.
Absolutely.
If you think they're for old people, ladies, they are not.
No. I did a poll on Instagram before I got mine, and I looked at the people that said yes and the people that said no, and the ones that said no were not into that sort of thing, and the people that said yes were all like the trail running, like hiking nutters. And I was like, well, that tells you, doesn't it?
But just make sure you go and get them, like get the right height and get the right style for what small. Yeah, and get the right style for what you want to do. So that makes a huge difference.
So that's where I wished, because I've got the set length ones, whereas I wished I'd got the ones you could alter, because for a single one person tent, they quite often, for a lightweight tent, they quite often use your pole as the pole.
Save some weight.
I had to carry an extra 90 grams because I had to buy a pole. I know, right?
I've got fixed. They break down into 3, but it's one fixed length, but they are carbon, so they're super light, and I just put them in the front of my pack. I just tuck them in. Took me a while to find the right place to put them. Most people I've seen put them in the back, and then I'm like, well, how do you get to them quickly? And then I worked out that they sit with, I've got a Montane Gecko, which is best, and I managed to put them so that they sit with the pointy bits at the top, and then the arms, and that sit just down into the little mesh bits, and I just have one on each side. And then if I'm climbing anything that's high, I just pop, bam, pull, and I'm off to go. So
beautiful.
Yeah, love them.
Most packs have got little intricate things to hold them, eh?
Yeah,
where they are.
Yeah. What sort of trail pack are you using?
So for fastpacking, I've got the Montane 30 litre.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to go any smaller, me personally. I don't know how people do it, but they do.
Yeah.
And even up to a 40 litre seems like a good idea, but I can fit everything in 30 litres.
How do you make the most of a 30? Because some people might consider anything from 20 to 30 litres, I guess, a day pack. So, that sort of 30 litres isn't a massive big pack. So
no.
How do you make the most of the space? How do you pack to keep everything compressed and consolidated?
A lot of rolling. I tend to just put everything into a dry bag inside my pack.
Mm-hmm.
Just shove things in the pot.
Yeah.
And then they've got great pockets on the outside, just shove things in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a shoving game, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some people, they get their stuff into tiny packs. But again, it's probably to do with what their priorities are. And my priorities, I need at least 30 litres. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's all right.
And then I'm scared that my bladder's going to pop. That's the concern. When you've got it shoved in, you got to just be careful of the area of your bladder because you don't want that to pop. I don't know if it would, but it probably would.
Yeah.
Too much shoving.
Do you put your stuff into a dry bag or a compression sack before you
dry bag
into your...
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, that's cool. I love it. Yeah, I think the lightest I've ever managed to get my pack down to, for not for any sort of trail running, but the closest I've got down to is about like 12 kgs, and I was really impressed by getting it down to that. I would like to think now that I know a little bit more and have done a bit more, I might be able to get it down a little bit lighter for an overnight hike. So
we'll put it this way. I went from doing Kepler on 6 kilos, and was it a week or two later? It was the same month we went on a family tramp, and both my husband and I were carrying 19. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Lots more to carry. Were you carrying the kids' stuff along with that?
Yeah, and tent and mattress. Only one sleep bag was missing though. Only 3 sleep bags on that trip. But there's a whole lot of gear, and it's not bookable with 4 kids. 2 kids, 4 of us.
So we just talked a lot about poles being really great. Is there anything else that if people are wanting to get into fast packing, you'd be like, I totally understand that it's a preference, but you're like, again, it's like kit that you've just gone, this is like this changes the game for me.
Yeah.
So like your liner.
My list, I definitely like the idea of the 2 liners. So my silk one or my thermal as options. I like to take it, like particularly in a hotter day, like a chucks cloth. So I just cut one of those little blue cloth things in half, so it's even smaller again. It takes no weight anyway. And I use that to give myself a bit of a wash. I
nice.
Get to
Here we go, ladies. Now we're getting the good stuff.
And I have cut the old people cut the toothbrush, so you've just got the head on it. And I have cut it off. But I tell you what, I don't take soap, and so you're giving your teeth a good old clean, and your fingers are pretty much in your mouth, and I'm like, I just think I might just carry the whole bloody toothbrush next time and put my dirty hands in my mouth. Don't think too much about it. So that's it. I have done
priorities.
It's weighing that one up. I've done the old loaded toothpaste where I actually put the toothpaste on there and then just put a little bit of Glad wrap over it, because I've got to take contacts and all sorts of things, so...
Yeah, I love it. It's fascinating.
Definitely take a camera stand. You can just get them from the like $2 shop. What even are those places called these days? And you put your cell phone on that. That's good.
Cool.
I'm just still looking at my list here. That's wet feet. This is the I'm getting all excited. This is the trip, the first trip, that Cameron Hut trip. And this woman took along bread bags. And so you don't want to take your jandals because that's more weight, or your Crocs or whatever you do. Yeah. And so I just take along 2 bread bags, and I get to the hut, and I personally always take only a spare pair of socks. So I'll change my socks when I get to the hut, but I'll just stay in my smelly T-shirts and things. And I'll put the bread bags over my feet to put into my wet shoes if I need to go to the toilet or something. Instead of taking jandals or Crocs or something else.
There you go. And this, ladies, is how you save weight when you go hiking. I mean, fast packing. I was going to say trail running.
And your toilet paper, take out the bit in the middle. But just don't be too stingy on the toilet paper, because you don't want to be that person.
Because you never know if a hut's going to have loo paper or not.
No. Yes.
Cool. What else have you got in there? This is great.
No, I've looked down the list. I'm done. But I can totally happily share that list. Share family tramping list. What other lists? I've got lots of lists because I'm like you, Senka. Love a list.
Yeah. Oh, that would be amazing. Would be more than happy to link that across. So if you're listening to this and you are a list lover like me and Alice, you can. We'll share that.
I can give you the link. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that way you can access it. Yeah, that's great. So we'll be able to share that. So I guess just before we start to wrap things up, I'd love to know what's like 2 of your best pieces of advice for getting into fast packing if somebody hasn't done it before.
2 pieces. Jeepers, you're asking me all these challenging questions.
I know. You're welcome.
Okay, number 1 is 100% easy, and that is social media. As much as we all loathe social media, it's got a place for its value, hasn't it? And that is joining the Facebook group, because do a search on there. It might have been done before and people have told you about it, or you can ask questions about the water or how long it takes or distances and things. And the gear spreadsheet, which is a no-brainer. You need to go on there and find that, even if you're tramping. Because it's going to give you some great ideas, and it's got links and everything. And if you've got any ideas for me to add to it, just message me and I'll chuck it on there as well, because technology keeps changing. And another one, or is that 2? I guess finding someone to go with, because going on your own, especially when you're early on, it can be a bit daunting, especially if it's somewhere you haven't been before. So, I personally have got no qualms about going with strangers, because my friends don't have the gear. But some people don't like going with strangers. But you probably feel like you know me now, so message me. Particularly in the mid-South Island. I like to come.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great advice. So anyone who wants to get into that fast packing, Alice's Facebook community is sensational. Like I said, there's like nearly 3,500 people in that community. It's super supportive. Lots of people asking questions, and Alice has got a bunch of really great resources there for you guys.
On Instagram too.
Yes, you can follow her.
Instagram is different. No, there's Fastpacking NZ on
there
Instagram.
Is. That's
it's
right.
A little bit more admin. But what I really love about the Instagram one is that on the, you know how you have the highlights on your Instagram?
Yep.
So if you go to Canterbury and click on Canterbury, what I've done is I've put the story there of each adventure story. So people are sharing. So say, Senka, you do a fast pack. You'll give me photos and tell me a yarn, and then I'll post that as a community post. And then I'll link that to the highlight. And so you can literally go, I'm going down to Otago. I want to go for a fast pack. So you'll click on the Otago highlight, and you'll go through and you'll be like, that one looks good. So you click on it and you can hear someone's yarn and photos.
Yes.
So I've got it all over New Zealand, not just the South Island.
Yes.
So it's really accessible to find stories and adventures and get inspired. I'm so pumped about it. I just want more people to share stories, please.
Yes. Alice, that's amazing. Yes. What a great
ideas.
What a great tool to share with people. I mean, because that's it, right? Sometimes it's just you want to hear what it's like to go and do stuff. One, you want to get an inspiration for somewhere to go, and then you want to hear a bit about it. So
and where they stayed, and
that's great.
I always ask for kilometers, elevation, where they stayed. And top tips and stuff, and it's such a it's quite different resource to the Facebook one. It's
all right.
It's quite cool.
So I'll share that with
on the community.
Perfect. I'll share that with this podcast as well. I'm personally going to access that as well, because I'm just always looking for new places to go and visit. I've written down a couple of them from when we chatted as well. I love the idea of the one that's got the highest peak on Te Araroa. I feel like that would be something really great to go and knock off. So, and just sort of enjoy that as well. So, so that's great. I feel like I've got a new list of great things to do, and I'm excited to look over the list and see if there's a way that I can lighten the load a little bit on the walks that I get to do.
Yes. Cool.
Yay. So last question before we wrap everything up and you can put yourself to bed. What's one message that you would have for women who want to have more fun and adventure in their lives, but maybe they're just a little afraid to take that step?
I'd psych myself up for this question because I was going to use the Facebook's yarn. See, locally, like here in Timaru, it's just finding finding information and finding like through Facebook or I can think of what to do here in Timaru, but most of the listeners won't be from Timaru because I work at Frontrunner and I've got like a trail list on our website that's got, how many Ks is. Oh, wild things. That's another thing that's similar.
Yeah.
Wild things, you can find out, tracks and trails and how many Ks and the elevation. And I guess information is power, like finding out more about the trail from people that have done it before gives you, like, I still get very nervous going somewhere I haven't been before, even trying to find the car park. And so I'm like that person that likes to give a lot of information so people can break down that nervous barrier. Nice. In Timaru, we've got the South Canterbury Adventure Ladies Facebook group. That's what started it all for me. So it's a lot of local stuff. I've got a South Canterbury Adventure Kids one too, just all that local, trying to break it down for people to make it more accessible. And
that's amazing, Alice. I really,
for a while, not just
Well, I just want to say a huge thank you for doing those sorts of things. So, especially because a lot of this is really community based. You're doing this in your spare time. And, to create those resources, create those spaces that encourage people to get out in a number of different ways. So, like, you've got the kids one, the Fastpacking one, the women's Canterbury group. Like, I just really want to say thank you for putting those communities together and creating a space for people to feel safe to come in. And the one thing you are is pumped about this stuff, and that's just really encouraging for a lot of people. So thank you for just creating an epic space for people to come into, not just fast packing, but to getting into the outdoors. So, which is, that's where you and I vibe on the same thing. So
yeah. I'm just doing what you're doing, Senka. You got the same jam going on too.
Awesome. Well, Alice, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you about all things fast packing. You sure as hell did not disappoint on the great stories and also the epic resources that you've got there for anyone wanting to get into fast packing. So I'm super excited to share that with anyone who's listening to this. Like we said at the start, if you want to jump on board and find out more information about how you can get into fast packing, make sure you jump into Alice's Facebook community, which is Fastpacking New Zealand. And of course, if you want to follow her on Instagram, you can follow her on Alice in the Hills.
Thank you, Senka. Thank you for making me feel so relaxed. I was so nervous. Thank you. It's been wonderful.
Totally welcome.
Comfort zones, boom.
Yeah. What comfort zone? I can't see it anymore. You just blew right past it.
I got this.
Awesome. All right. Well, here's to getting more ladies outdoors.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you.
Thanks for listening to the She Adventures New Zealand podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd be super stoked if you'd help me get this message out and connected to as many listeners as possible by sharing it on your socials and tagging She Adventures NZ. And of course, to make sure you know when the next exciting episode arrives, be sure to subscribe and you'll be notified as soon as it drops. Till then, remember, get outdoors, fill your happy tank, and do the things that matter, because life is better when you do.